I love myself. Is that a narcissistic thing to say? Is that something that, wait, I love myself? I'm going to invite everyone in here for just a moment. If you would close your eyes, and with your eyes closed, say the words to yourself, I love myself. Try that again. I love myself. How does that feel? Is it comfortable? Is it familiar? Is it uncomfortable? So I open my eyes, and I know that Ernest Holmes says, page 298, love is the impulse of creation. The impulse of creation. He goes on to say and explain that's why everybody needs somebody to love. And he said that before Queen sang that song that every time I say those words rings in my own ears. Everyone needs somebody to love because love is the impulse of creation. He also says that to know God is to know love, because God is love. And if you don't love, if you don't have that feeling, then you don't really know God. God is love. That is a phrase that has rung in my own ears from time before I really have much in the way of memory. I do not know how I picked this up. I know it was at the church I was taken to. I remember nothing about it except that God is love was an anchor for me that has really carried me for a long way. I consciously remembered it when I was about 12 or 13. And I have remembered it for a long time. It's, as I said, it anchored me. But just like many of the youth today and many adults, a lot has happened since then. A lot has happened along the way. There's something about school and the activities that challenge us as youth and challenge us in ways that we don't even feel that we're equipped to deal with. I know that even in preschool, my daughter India was challenged in a way that surprised me. She was maybe 3 years old. I was working, and she was in this preschool, and when I was finished with work, I went to pick her up, and the woman who ran the Piaget Learning Center came running across the parking lot to me that tell me, India's all right, she's just fine. Well, I mean, I'm surprised that she never does that. And she went on to explain to me that another little girl, Ebony, had just cold-cocked India during the day. And she hurried to explain that the parents, both parents came with Ebony that morning to explain that they told Ebony that morning that they were going to separate. And Ebony was very upset. And so the teacher was hurrying to explain to me that this is not a regular thing. And I understood her concern, and I wasn't particularly concerned because things like this can't happen. But when I got home, and on the way home, I remember thinking, how am I going to talk to India about this? So I began, and I said, I hear something happened at preschool. She said, yeah, Ebony hit me. And she said, and I don't know, she's my friend. I don't know why she hit me. And so I began to explain to her about her parents telling her that morning, and I didn't get very far into it till India said, oh, I know, Mr. Rogers told me. King Friday the 13th and Queen Sarah Saturday were having a big argument, and Prince Tuesday thought it was all his fault. But it wasn't. she got it. She understood how the emotions that you observe can upset you. She understood. She was just 3. God bless Mr. Rogers. So I didn't have to do anything else. And maybe that helped anchor India for what was to come. Because elementary school, I got to tell you, who knew it was such a tough venue? Even in 3rd grade, who knew that 8-year-olds could be so mean? Day after day. It was quite a challenge. Now, I do believe that India weathered it quite well, but at the same time, it seems like every day it was another thing that somebody had said. Who knew they could be that mean? Well, I realized that as we go through life, and I realized that I went through the same thing, I just don't remember them as well as I remember my children's. And the truth of the matter is, I go to teen camp, and one of the reasons that I go is to try to give that message of being heard and that you matter and that you are worthy of all kinds of wonderful treatment in whatever way shows up for me to do. I love myself is the embodiment of that idea. And that is the goal for the teens who go to camp, to be able to bring them to that space where they see themselves that way. I know many of the teens who have these feelings some of them have had some desperate situations, and many of them have tried to do harmful things to themselves. But there are many others who are quite talented, successful, doing well, have plans for their life, and yet, when an experience comes up, they have that feeling that gives them a less than feeling. So is it any wonder that by the time we're adults, we have some idea that maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not lovable, maybe there is something that's wrong with me. And of course, you don't want to say that necessarily, because here you are, you're a great singer, and you make good grades, and you're going to do well. Why wouldn't anyone think that you wouldn't think you were wonderful as I think you are? And yet, I've had, just this last summer, several sweet, lovely, funny young women come up to me and say how they felt. We all need to take the time to ask ourselves, why is it that I don't feel this generosity toward myself? I love myself. Can we say that? Was there discomfort when you said that to yourself? Or was there some, pinching? Pull yourself in? Can you truly say that? Or is there some feeling of unworthiness? This teaching is, at its very basis, it is that you are an expression of God. You are an expression of God in every moment. Oh, I think it's wonderful that I can be standing here and feel that I am expressing God, but I am always expressing God, even when I'm my own worst self, and I'm not judged for that. Now, I do believe that the idea of judgment has certainly been promoted through many aspects of Christian religion, because there was the promotion that, as one man said to me one time, my soul is blacker than black. It's only by the grace. And he goes on to talk about the Christian religion. I'm only saved because of someone else. And that's not our teaching. Our teaching is you come here blessed. You've never been blacker than black, no matter what you've done. There was a woman who came here one time whose face I can no longer remember. It's been a very long time. She was not part of our center as far as I know. She just came in one weekday and wanted to see someone. And so I was the one here, so I sat in that meditation room and talked to her. And she went on to say the despair she was feeling because she knows that with what she's done, there's no way that God can forgive her. I will say that I said all the right things, and I talked about God is love and how that she has never been unforgivable, even before she did whatever it is that she's done. She's always been in that place, and I can say that with conviction. But in that moment, in that 30 whatever minutes that we had, she could not come to the place that she could be forgiven for whatever she had done. And believe me, I didn't ask her. I didn't particularly want to know. It doesn't matter is really the answer. We are loved just as we are. You know, there's a great Christian song that says, just as I am, without one plea. But then it goes on to credit Jesus with the reason that I am loved. And that's not the credit. The credit is that God created us as an impulse of love. God is love. I am an expression of love. I am made out of love simply because I exist, because I walk. And so how many of us can believe that at least most of the time? And that's the message that I am talking about today, is to confront with, do I love myself? Can I say that? Can I say, I love myself? And actually know that it is true. Do I get annoyed with myself? Well, yeah. Have I said things before that maybe are not the things that I would want to say if I were being more discriminating? Yes. There's not a perfection in that. Because, number one, God does not see imperfection. He sees the love, the creative expression that we are. And every one of us are so different. I have to say that every day to remind myself. We're all so different and each equally worthy. And of course that means everybody else is too. I can't be worthy without acknowledging that everyone is worthy. And sometimes we struggle with that. Some of us do. And that need to judge, I think the need to judge other people, random people, yourself, is part of not loving yourself. I think that's how it shows up. One of the parts of Learn to Live that I recalled really a day or so ago, he says in talking about what happens in our life, he said, we never know what is in our own consciousness until we are confronted with our own behavior. We never know what is in our own consciousness until we are confronted with our behavior. And what he is saying is that when we do or say or even think something that's like, where did that come from kind of thing, that it points to something within us that believes that. Now, if someone says something awful to you, especially if they say it over and over again and you react, you're reacting to what they say, or that's the way it appears on the surface. But what he is telling us is that that's not what you're reacting to. That whatever anyone says, when we react, when we have that visceral reaction, it's because some part of us believes that. Or it echoes in something that we believe. And that's hard. I love myself. I have to love all of me. The part that reacted, the part that, did a really kind thing for someone. And what I've come to believe is that I want to do those really kind and nice and worthy things at least 51% of the time, because I feel like that helps anchor me to the real truth, that I am God expressing the way I want to be God expressing. So I guess I've learned a lot about what I'm talking about how we get to be the way they are, partly because I spend a lot of time thinking about my granddaughter, who's 2. And so she's learning wonderful things. And truly, she has what I would call a curated life. Her parents are very careful about what she sees, what she watches, how life is going. And yet, there's going to come a time when she goes beyond that wonderful daycare, beyond that wonderful hearth and home, and goes to school. And that's when humanity comes in and we get to learn things in a different way. And I think about that, and I think about those teens that have had a lot of lumps, even the ones who appear to be so successful. And aren't we all in that way? We are here because we were called in some way to know that we are loved unconditionally. We resonate with that idea on some level. I recall occasionally being in graduate school, reading, sitting out on one of the lawns, whatever school I was in, and seeing someone walk across this big open area, just making a bead for me. I mean, I saw her as far away as the back of the sanctuary, and she had drawn a bead on me, and I'm going, uh-oh, because I thought I knew what I was about to have an experience of, and sure enough, she wanted to save me. And so I answered her questions, and she didn't like the answers, and I don't remember well that I did say, but I remembered what she said in the end was, well, don't you think you ought to believe in Jesus just in case? Now, is that faith? Or is that a trap door like this? I'm going to pull this cord if things get really difficult. And I'm much more about what I truly believe. And that is the way I think people are who come to the center. They're ready to find a different way. And I want to know that we offer that. Not that we are always right, but the truth that we are embodying or expressing is true. A principle is always true. And that's what we teach at teen camp to the best of our ability. So I want to close this part of it with the words of a song that we sing at teen camp every day. The occasion is, as teens, and it begins on the first evening, have these kind of homemade necklaces kind of thing, and handmade, I really should say. And they sing a song after they have gone into the audience, and each of them, there's like 7 of them, have taken this necklace and put it around someone else's neck. They pull them up to the front and sing the song that says, I love myself so much so that I can love you so much, so that you can love you so much that you will keep loving me. I love myself so much so that I can love you so much, so that you can love you so much, so you can keep loving me. It is a wonderful sentiment, and it is the title of this whole month of what we're talking about in many CSL churches, is I love myself so much. I have to know somebody's been to teen camp. somewhere along the line that helped craft that idea. And it's a wonderful idea. I love myself so much so that I can love you so much, so that you can love you so much, that you can keep loving me. And so it is. What I want to know as we come to the close of this time, come to the close at this time, I don't think I need this, that within everyone in this room and in the sound of my voice, there is that still small voice that knows I love myself so much. And I know that this voice can be louder, it can be nurtured, it can be curated so that it grows, so that every voice is able to radiate this love, that it affects others simply by the presence that you are. And so I just say yes to this idea. I know that life is good and very good. And I accept all the goodness, all the experiences, and know that I am closer to that idea, that God is good all the time, and I love myself so much. I'm grateful, I release, and so it is. And so now comes the time where we pass the plate, as we say. It's our time for giving. It's a time for sharing our bounty simply in gratitude for what we receive, but also knowing that just giving itself is a loving thing to do. And what we give comes back to us, pressed down and overflowing. So let's say the affirmation together. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love, and so it is. Thank you, Ruthie. So we have, Grant has a microphone back there, and he will share that with anyone who actually would like to share the microphone for some comments or questions or whatever it is you would like to do. I don't know why I did that the whole time. Not necessary. I have this thing. Anyone? Oh, yes. Wait, if I tell you it's...
For the people online, they can't hear you.
I went to the teen camps when I was a kid. I was in the youth group. And I can't tell you how much that improved what my life probably would have gone. Not in the worst direction. I had a good dad. I knew my parents loved me. There were other issues. But boy, this church is so important. And I love that you talk about the teen camps. And we didn't do that song back in the 70s. You did talk about the stroke books. I had hung on to mine for decades, and I don't know, just maybe in the last 10 years because I was getting rid of stuff. But anyway, that was a great talk today. And if you have a teenager in your life, just accept them, because I was a high school teacher, so I get that age group, and it's hard. And I love that we have the kids that go there, and I wish that we had more, of course. So thanks, Reverend Katherine.
Did they sing that song when you were at teen camp?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think it had been forever. It's been my forever there, but yes.
Listen to my heart song. Do they still do that one? Listen to my heart song. No? You don't still do that? Okay. We had a lot of others. Of course, Let There Be Peace on her. And I'd let you talk. I don't want to bore everybody here, but we used to do the nightly entertainment where various youth groups would take over the activities for each evening, like a talent show.
Yes.
I like that necklace. So does one group of the kids get the charge of making the necklaces that they share?
Yes, they do.
And then, because that's a nice addition. But
A lot of it is, they have a time when they share, actually. It's near the end of the week.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anyone else?
Anyone else? Ann here. Thank you, Sean.
When is the fundraiser for the teen camp?
Can you hold that up?
When is the fundraiser for the teen camp this year? Do you know?
How many?
When are they going to have, like,
Oh,
the
you mean
luncheons
next
or-
year?
Yeah.
They've had it this year. That's why
Because
I'm
they have
asking.
it summer,
It was in
don't they?
July.
July.
It was in
So
July.
when do you think they're going to have the next fundraiser?
Well, they will have winter camp in January, which is much shorter.
Is that a teen camp?
Yes, yes.
And so when-
And it's local, though, as opposed to going to
To the
everybody in
mountains,
one
yeah.
place.
So are they going to have a benefit, just so you can give contributions for that?
Yes,
And do
definitely.
you know when approximately, or what? Or is
I
that
don't,
yet
that I can't tell you.
not
but-
decided
But they
yet?
will.
But I must say, it's, what people have said is that it saves lives.
Yes, it does.
And you can talk to Doris, too. Doris at the front desk, she'll know more about that, too. Doris or Robin.
She's saying that it saves lives, and that's because during that sharing that Sean was talking about, they will stand right there and say, Teen Camp saved my life. And if they don't say that, they will say, it changed my life. I heard that this summer. And there's a chance to be yourself in a way that many teens simply don't have, and we offer them that. It's just an opportunity. The teens have to step through. Our own teens have benefited tremendously, and it is, but see, the thing about it is, we all can do that. We can all change ourselves. We're not stuck where we are. It's a commitment. And I think one of the things about teens is they have the teaching in class on Sunday and at other opportunities, but they make a commitment to go to camp. And do you know, it's kind of rugged, by the way. You have to have a commitment. I don't think it bothers teens as much as it does the adults. I mean, sleeping in bunk beds, I'm just saying. It's not my first choice. But it's a commitment. And there are a lot of adults who have to go to make this happen, and they've made that commitment because they know it's important. And so, but the thing about it is, the classes that we offer for adults, the book readings, many other places, are opportunities you actually get to confront yourself. Yes, you may be stimulated by what is said, what is read, what is studied, but it's always about you. It's got to come from within you. This teaching is ultimately about each one of us. We act in concert and we change the world, but ultimately it's about you and it's about me as I step up to do whatever it is I do. And remember that anytime anyone lifts themselves up in consciousness, everyone is lifted. Because we're in this together. We can say we're all one, which is an expression we use, but we are connected in a way that's hard to realize. We're sitting in separate places, and we're all different, and we think different things, we look different things, but we're connected in a way that I know I can't fully imagine, but I believe that it's true. I believe it very strongly. And I want to act on that. So I invite you to believe it to the degree that's useful to you and grow in that idea. Anyone else? I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, so you can keep loving me. Isn't that great? It's a peppy little tune also. Anyone else? You're a wonderful audience. Thank you for being here, and thank you for those who are still on YouTube checking in with us.